Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 22nd of January 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday's morning session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few charts as always. But before we start looking at that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay guys, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the FTSE and FTSE100. And looking at this daily chart here, you can see that still the index is trading below this slightly longer term downside resistance line taken from the highs of May last year. So in a bit of this line is of course a bit of a tentative one, but nevertheless something that we're going to keep an eye on in case this index decides to rally much higher. But for now, from the medium-term perspective, you can see that it's trading below this this medium-term downside resistance line taken from the highs of August last year as well. Certainly, it's not far from it. Yesterday, the index just kind of closed flat in a way. We are keeping a close eye on some of the key resistance and support levels here. So if we zoom in here a little bit, we can see that it's not far from this downside resistance line, so something that, like I said, we're going to keep a close eye on. And of course, judging by the cash index right now, where it's trading right now, so we probably will open a little bit lower than the yesterday's close. So it's going to be somewhere in this little range here between the 6,915 on the downside and the 6,965. So in this area, somewhere around here. Of course, we're going to keep on monitoring some of these key areas of support and resistance. But if, let's say, we jump into the 4-hour chart on this one, guys, so you can see that if we're going to open somewhere around here, because this is where the cash index is trading right now, it's around the 6,940, something like that. So still, in a way, it's going to remain for now above the pivot here, which is around the 6,930 zone. So in a way, what you could keep a close eye on for today is this pivot. Of course, a nice good move lower could drive this this index towards the level that I just mentioned, the 6,915. So if this gets broken as well, then, well, I mean, further declines are possible. But again, something for you to keep a close eye on is, of course, this little tentative upside support line. So basically, long story short, guys, in a way, for us to start looking at much lower levels, we would need to see this one reversing back down strongly here and dropping below this upside this short-term tentative upside support line. So, but as of course, given the fact where the price is right now, it still has a bit of a path here to do. So probably this is something maybe for later on, just something for you guys to keep an eye on, or just to keep in mind. So in a way, if this decides for today, for example, if this decides to drop further down below the pivot, this is where the bulls should start being careful and cautious. But if this decides to drop below the 6,915, well, we could see even more bears stepping in here and potentially driving this one towards the a retest of this, in a way, tentative upside support line. So keep your eyes on this one. Let's say this doesn't drop below the pivot here and reverses strongly back up. Of course, we're going to keep a close eye on this little area of resistance. Let me just quickly mark that for our future reference, and this is where we're going to be looking out for, is this 6,980 level, 82, something like that, approximately there. In a way, for those who are more on the cautious side, you could put it just to 6,990 level, because a nice good pop above this certainly will lead towards a test of the psychological 7,000 level, which was last time tested around here on the 11th of January. So let me just quickly mark that as well. There we go. So basically, if this is going to drive above the 6,990, yes, it does have a very good chance. I understand it's only 10 points away from this, but still, nevertheless. And this is where you could be very careful here, because if suddenly we start moving above the above this downside, medium-term downside resistance line, now this is where it could get even more exciting for more bulls to start jumping in here and potentially driving this one further up here. So of course the next potential good area of resistance could be seen near these highs that we saw here back in December, in the beginning, the first days of December, and that was approximately around the 7,120 zone, approximately there, guys. This could be that next potential target here for a resistance for this index. So in a way, if to mark some of these scenarios here, basically what we're looking for is to be more on the cautious side, a nice good pop above this 7,000 level, and also a break of the downside, medium-term downside resistance line could open the path towards the higher levels here, like the 7,120 approximately there. But if on the downside, if this suddenly starts dropping below the 6,915 level, certainly we could aim for a little bit lower here, but again, we'll keep a close eye on this this upside support line, because it could in a way provide some good support. Yep, and if it fails to if the bears fail to drive the price below this, then you could see maybe this this area as a nice rebound for the index for another push higher. But again, for now, be very careful. For now, like I said, judging by the cash index, we are going to be probably opening here somewhere in the around here, just slightly a few points away from the pivot. So yep, keep your eyes on these key levels for today. Jumping into one commodity, platinum, and before we look at the 4-hour quickly, let's have a quick glance on the daily, so you can see this is what's happening right now. So of course, overall it's trading below this long-term downside resistance line taken from the highs of August 2011, guys. So quite an interesting line here. So this is of course what we're keeping a close eye on. From the very short-term perspective, you can see that or should I say more medium-term perspective, you can see that this is trading still above this this medium-term upside support line taken from the lows of August 2018, but the commodity is kind of traveling further down now. It's kind of aiming for probably a retest of this line again. Now this is where we will remain somewhat cautious, because yes, as long as it remains intact, we should be aiming for higher levels, but to be honest, it's better to be safe than sorry. So that's why for us to start getting comfortable with higher levels, what we need to see is of course a nice rebound from this upside support line, from this medium-term upside support line, and also a nice good pop above this little, in a way, tentative downside resistance line here, taken from the highs of the 10th of January. So in a way, if we see a nice good reversal back up here and a push higher, then yep, a nice good break above this line, above this downside line, could open the path towards higher levels. And if you want to be more on the safe side, you could in a way keep your eyes on the 815 level. A nice good break above that could set the stage for a retest of the 831 level, something like that, 830.31 approximately there, guys. And of course we will then take it from there and see what it wants to do further. But for now, for us, let's say, to start looking at much lower levels here, well, even if we're going to get a nice break below the medium term upside support line, still we would need to see a nice good drop below the 780 level. This way the commodity would actually open itself a gateway towards these lower levels. So in a way it would break the lows here that we saw back in December. So the lowest point of December here could be violated then, and this is where, like I said, we will aim for much lower levels. But even though, like I said, it would break, if it would break the medium term upside support line, still we would need, for a better confirmation of the downside, we would need to see a drop below the 780 level. Jumping into Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a bit of a boring one, but nevertheless something still I wanted to kind of just to have a look at, and see how it's performing. So of course it's kind of currently running flat. The only positive thing here is that it's still above, trading above these lows that we saw here back in December, which were near the 3,140 levels. I'm looking at the Coinbase here, exchange, so at Coinbase pricing, and what we're going to keep on monitoring, of course, is this little area of support here around this 3,140 level, because if this starts breaking to the downside, then yep, I mean, further declines are possible, and this is where we'll probably then aim even for the psychological 3,000 level. But for now, and as long as it's kind of here, looking at from the short-term perspective, I'll just quickly jump into the 4-hour chart. So in a way, this is how you could in a way position yourselves here, guys. So in a way, this is the support level that we're watching. Let me just quickly mark that for our future reference. So this is the level that we're watching here, is the 3,485 level, something like that, approximately there. So you could in a way keep your eyes on this one. A nice good drop below this could, yep, open the path towards the area here that I was talking about previously, the lowest point of December, around the 3,140 level. So a nice good run here could be seen, but of course be very careful for now. For now, guys, keep your eyes on this 3,485 level on the downside. On the upside, well, with the upside here, even of course you could in a way say that if we're gonna get a nice pop here above these yesterday's highs, then we could see maybe a further push higher. But to be honest, again, to be more on the safe side, you could in a way wait until this drives above this key area of resistance around here, around the 3,700 level, something like that. A nice good move above this could of course open the path towards slightly higher levels, but for now, judging by the picture that we're seeing here right now, it's kind of currently trading below the pivot, and it currently is pointing to the upside, oh sorry, to the upside, to the downside, and it does have some potential to move further down. But again, for like I said, in order to get more comfortable with lower levels, we need to see a drop below the this level right here around the 3,485 zone. So keep your eyes on that one. Jumping into a few pairs now. So the euro dollar. Now euro dollar, I was talking about this one yesterday, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this little upside support line here, taken from the lows of the November last year. So of course we do have two of these lines here, but the one that I'm referring to is this one that connects the lows of the of December and the low of the January. So for now, you can see that the pair continues to travel further down. This is the scenario that I've got in mind right now. Of course, a nice push lower if the upside support line continues to hold. Actually, let me just jump into the 4-hour chart. It will be much clearer. So basically this is what I'm talking about. So basically, if this continues to hold, if this upside support line continues to hold, we could see maybe a nice rebound here back up and push higher. But for now, guys, certainly probably let's be more on the safe side. For now, we're going to remain neutral and see, because in a way what we could see happening here is, of course, if this pair in the future wants to travel further up, we could see maybe a drop lower, actually maybe even a break below this upside support line. But then if by the end of the day, if the rate kind of retraces back up here and gets and closes above the subside support line, so we could get our false breakout here, and this is where a lot of traders could get stopped out, and for those, for example, who decide to enter straight away here on the break and aim lower, if this rate reverses back up and gets above this upside support line, this is also could be the bad thing for the short traders, for the bears, let's put it that way. So basically what I'm trying to say here, guys, is keep an eye on this upside support line for now. Let's see how it performs. Don't rush into it yet. In order for, let's say, to start looking at much lower levels in the near term, for those who are more on the cautious side, you could in a way wait until we see a nice good close on the daily candle. I do understand this is a 4-hour chart, but on the daily candle, if we get a daily close here below the upside support line, then well, this could be the first indication that there could be some further downside. But if this starts moving towards the 113.05 level, then of course this is where we will potentially start looking at even much lower levels. So for now, guys, until we're kind of trading above this upside support line, it's difficult to talk about the downside. So we're more we're cautiously bullish on this one still. So let's see how this performs, and if this decides to rebound nicely and push us today, for example, back above the pivot, which is around the 113.70 level, then well, could spark some hope in the eyes of the bulls, and we could see this one maybe traveling further up later on. But of course, don't forget, we do have the ECB rate decision on Thursday, so probably more action could come then. Also, it will be followed by ECB press conference, so be careful around there, around those times. So yep, for now, guys, judging from this little technical picture that we're seeing here right now, certainly we do have some still have some a little bit of a downside here, potentially maybe aiming for the 113.40, something like that. But if this continues to hold, this is where we will remain very cautious and wait for the next big move from the euro dollar. Last pair I wanted to quickly touch on, USD-CAD. I was talking about this one last week, and boom, we finally have our break here, a nice good strong confirmation break above this upper bound of the channel here, or should I say channel range here. So for now, of course, we are more on the bullish side. We are going to continue aiming for this 200 EMA. I was talking about this as well in one of my previous videos where I was talking about USD-CAD. So for now, slightly above the 200 EMA, we do have the 133.70, which also could get tested. It was last time marked here by the highs of the 7th of January. So keep your eyes on this one. Let's see how this plays out. For now, we are more bullish than bearish. And in a way, guys, for those who like to trade, for example, Fibonacci's, so you could keep an eye on something like this. So basically, if we take the fib here from the high that we saw here in the beginning of January and take it to the lows, so the recent lows here, you can see that this area here around the 133.70 is kind of not far from this 38.2% on the fib. So good potential area for a resistance, just slightly above this 200 EMA. But if this continues to push further up here, well, we could in a way aim for the 50% retracement here, which would be around the 134.20 level. So for now, guys, of course, keep your eyes on that one. Very interesting pair here. At some point we could get a bit of retracement back down here, but this retracement could be seen just as a little correction before another leg of buying. We will change our view. We'll start looking at the downside if suddenly we get back below this. Well, it gets back inside this little range again, and especially if this decides to exit through the lower bound of this little range, and then we'll start looking at much lower levels. But for now, guys, it's slightly looking more bullish than bearish. Okay, guys, I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for watching and listening. And if you want to join me later on in my Traders Tea Time, and that's 14:15 GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a fantastic trading day, guys. Bye-bye.